A stunning new report in The New Yorker reveals that President Trump ordered a top aide to pressure the Justice Department to stop the merger between AT&T and CNN's parent company, Time Warner. Let's check in now with CNN's Sarah Westwood. She's at the White House for us. This new report is pretty interesting, and there's a lot of details. Catch us up.
That's right, Brianna. This report in The New Yorker is raising new questions about President Trump's potential involvement in the decision made by the Justice Department to try to stop that AT&T merger from going forward. Now, President Trump's opposition to that deal was well known, but this report goes one step further, claiming that President Trump instructed his then top economic advisor, Gary Cohn, his then chief of staff, John Kelly, to get the Justice Department to file a lawsuit and try to stop that deal from moving forward, which the DOJ ultimately did. But Justice Department officials have consistently denied that any political considerations, any pressure from the White House played a role in that decision. Here's what The New Yorker reported. Trump called Cohn into the Oval Office along with John Kelly, who had just become the chief of staff, and said in exasperation to Kelly, "I've been telling Cohn to get this lawsuit filed and nothing's happened. I've mentioned it 50 times and nothing's happened. I want to make sure it's filed. I want that deal blocked." And according to the article, Cohen emerged from that meeting. He told Kelly not to contact the Justice Department. And this had prompted criticism that this is a potential overreach from Trump. For example, George Conway, the husband of top Trump aide Kellyanne Conway, tweeted that if this conversation was proven to have taken place as the New Yorker reported, it would amount to retribution for the exercise of First Amendment rights and could be ground for impeachment. But again, Trump's hostility to the merger, that was known before. He spoke publicly about it on the campaign trail in 2016, saying that if he won, he wouldn't want his administration to approve the deal. But White House officials, Justice Department officials have said throughout this process that the government's decision to bring this case was not based on anything other than antitrust concerns. The New Yorker article, Brianna, paints a very different picture of the motivations behind that lawsuit.
It sure does. Sarah Westwood at the White House. And let's talk about the legal and the political ramifications of all of these top stories we're covering. We have legal analyst Seth Berensweig with us and our chief political analyst Gloria Borger as well. So we knew, right, that the president had this opposition. We knew this, but his opposition to the deal has kind of been seen as punishing CNN for news coverage he didn't like. He's often a very animated anti-fan, I guess you could say. Certainly this would be an abuse of power, but I wonder if there even so are political consequences for the president.
Well, you know, I don't know. It's potentially that Congress is going to look into this. It's clearly an abuse of power. The president doesn't like CNN. He didn't want this deal to go through, and he was willing to say to his chief of staff and say, you know, get this done because he believed that the Justice Department actually works for him, right? And not for the American people. They were like his own personal, he considered them his own personal attorneys, and he could order them to do whatever he wanted, and they said that he didn't.
And George Conway, who we all know so well, Kellyanne Conway's husband, critic of the president, though, said if proven, such an attempt to use presidential authority to seek retribution for the exercise of First Amendment rights would unquestionably be grounds for impeachment. Are you so sure of that?
Well, I think it points in that direction. It's a constitutional issue. I agree it's an abuse of power, but I would really call it an abuse of power on steroids. Take a look at the case itself. That case filed to block the merger was frivolous. The administration didn't lose. They got clobbered. They got destroyed at the trial level. Pending appeal, they filed a motion for a stay of the ruling. Pending appeal in these kinds of cases, usually judges will grant that as a courtesy. The judge even at that point said, forget it, you guys are going to lose. And a couple of days ago, they got clobbered on the appeal as well. So it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for the president to say, I was just trying to uphold the law. I think he was probably going against the law, especially in this case.
So you've seen this list it's extensive. A separate story we're covering today. The Judiciary Committee and the House Judiciary Chairman is requesting documents from dozens of people. So about 80 individuals and also entities, including the Trump Organization, including Cambridge Analytica and others. And this is all, of course, related to President Trump. How significant is this list to you, Seth?
Well, from my perspective, I think the list really marks a new chapter in terms of setting a new, broader tone on Capitol Hill. There was a lot of heat before, particularly in light of the Cohen situation, but now you have a completely new situation with this broad shot by Jerry Nadler. This is really like a broad buffet of letters going after all kinds of criminal violations. But if you'd open up the buffet menu, you'd probably see two legal issues principally at the top of the list: abuse of power and obstruction of justice. And I think that this is going to get broader and it's going to accelerate very quickly.
Well, this is also, though, sort of a strategy on the part of the Democrats, which is they need to, and Jerry Nadler said it this weekend, if they're going to go towards impeachment, they first need to persuade the American public that what they're doing is actually the right thing to do. So by subpoenaing documents, calling people publicly to testify, you know, this happened in Iran-Contra a long time ago. They're presenting the case that they have to the American people in the way that Bob Mueller won't when we finally get his report. And I think in many ways, impeachment may be going on now, but we just don't call it that or know about it.
Do
right?
you think there's a possibility, Gloria, that they gauge that maybe there isn't this ability to impeach successfully, that maybe Republicans are going to stand by President Trump, but they're at least going to exact some prolonged suffering?
Oh, absolutely, which could then lead to impeachment if public opinion changes. You know, you can't do it unless the public is with you.
Yeah.
So pain is on their list. Yes, I would say that.
I agree. And I think Rudy Giuliani has said, look, we're going to try this in the court of public opinion. Well, even everybody who's watching this, the public, understands it's a lot easier to impeach a witness than a document. If you take a look at a document like a $35,000 check that the president wrote from the White House, you can't really impeach that document. There's not a lot that you can tee up on that. So there are a lot of serious issues around the bend.
When you look at this list, Gloria, Ivanka Trump is not on here. And Michael Cohen mentioned Ivanka Trump in his hearing for sure. Everyone else he mentioned is on here. I heard from privately from a member of the House, a Democrat, who said, you know, we have to be really careful about the optics of pulling in or involving the president's children here, and Ivanka especially.
Right, and Don Jr. is on that list.
And Eric Trump, too.
And
yeah.
Whatever your source is telling me, I'm hearing it, too. There's disagreement in the Democratic Party about how far down the list you want to go in terms of family members. I mean, we know that Don Jr. had the meeting with Russians in Trump Tower. That puts him in a different category. Right. Ivanka did not. And we know how Trump feels about his daughter, and I think that they probably decided it was wise to keep her off that list.
It's a very interesting decision. Seth Berensweig, thank you so much. Gloria Borger, as always, thank you. Sure.